So a supermarket sells fruit. The ratio of apples to oranges sold is 5 to 4. The ratio of apples to bananas sold is 4 to 7. So you can see that we have different fruits here. I'm going to call it A and O. So apples are going to be A, oranges O, apples A, bananas B. So the ratio of apples to oranges, so apples to oranges, sold is 5 to 4. Well, that's equal to 5 to 4, keeping things in line because the 5 is first and the apples are first. The ratio of apples to bananas is a separate ratio, so I'm going to write this over here. Apples to bananas is 4 to 7. That's what it says in the question. Now, we're told how many pieces of fruit there are altogether, but we have ratios that are separate from each other. Now, what we have to do here is we need to combine the ratios. So first things first is to notice that the fruit that we have in common in both ratios is the apples. Now, if we have 5 parts here and 4 parts here, that we need to be able to combine these ratios to solve this problem. So what we need to do is get the apples having the same number of parts. We need to find equivalent ratios where the apples have the same number of parts. So I can times, if I look at the first ratio and the second ratio, 5 and 4, the lowest common multiple of 5 and 4 is 20. I can multiply the 5 by 4, I multiply the 4 by 5, and then the apples would have the same number of parts in both ratios, so 20 and 20. Now we have to make sure we do the same thing to our oranges and our bananas. So we times the apples by 5 in this ratio, so we have to do the same thing here, times those oranges by 4 to get 16. We times the apples by 5 in the second ratio, so we need to do the same thing to the bananas. We need to times them by 5 to get us 35. All right, so now is the interesting bit. So to combine them, apples to oranges to bananas, well, apples to oranges in our equivalent ratios now is 20 to 16. But when we have 20 apples, we also have 35 bananas. And we have 20 apples in this ratio here, so we need 35 bananas. Now we've got a single ratio where all of them are combined. So to find out how many bananas were sold in that day, then if 568 pieces were sold altogether, what we could do is split this up into apples has 20 boxes, oranges has 16, bananas has 35. And you can see why it would be a pain to do the equivalent, to do bar model for this in full, right? Doing all of the boxes for each one. But there's no need. What we can do is recognize, first of all, that altogether, this is going to be 20 plus 16 is 36, plus 35 is 71. So we have 71 parts altogether to this ratio, or 71 boxes. So what we need to do is, we've got 568 pieces of fruit altogether. So 71 boxes altogether has 568 pieces of fruit. Okay, so to find out what one box is, or one part of our original ratio is, we need to do 568. That's how many we've got altogether, divided by 71 to go to what one part of our ratio is, or one box. So 568 divided by 71 on your calculators gives us a nice value of 8. So that means one part, or one box, is going going to be worth 8 in every single part of this. Or in other words, each part in our original ratio here, one of those, each one is worth 8. So how many bananas were sold then? If we have 35 parts for our bananas, then we're going to have 35 parts or 35 boxes multiplied by 8 per box or per part. 35 times 8 then is 280 bananas. And we're done.